Yeah, okay. We will call the Sherburne County Board of Commissioners, December 20th, 2022, meeting to order, and we will start with a moment of silence and a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now, would anyone like to move approval of our agenda?
Madam Chair.
Okay, motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed. Now we can move on to the consent agenda. Bruce has something to add. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. With the Commission's permission, I just want to note consent agenda item number 4. I do have a slightly revised request for board action and motion. And because we've not had time to review the contracts presented by the courts, the recommendation is that they be approved for 1-year contracts versus 3 years, and that they be subject to final review by the county attorney and county administrator as to form prior to execution. So if you are comfortable, it can stay on consent, or if you want to have a further discussion, I would just note that we did make a change of a recommendation for that consent item.
Do we need
Everybody all right with that?
any discussion, or should we go ahead then with our vote, or do we modify the,
Yeah.
There hasn't been a motion to approve the consent agenda yet.
yeah,
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with that change.
okay, is there a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed. Okay, now we can move on to announcements.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Just a couple of quick announcements and then an end-of-year fun activity. First, just to note that we do have a celebration scheduled for 12 noon today for the community, the commissioners, and the public to celebrate our retiring commissioners. We do encourage everyone to come and attend. Second of all, would note that we'll have some end-of-year paperwork that'll be cleaned up here in the next couple of weeks, but nothing significant requiring board action. Of course, the big thing would be for incoming commissioners and returning commissioners. January 3rd looks to be a fairly long meeting, so I would just give a heads up to that. If you can plan for probably at least 9 a.m. to noon on that day, and perhaps a little longer. And then thanks to everybody who was able to attend the holiday party last Friday. I had a great time, and the chicken and mashed potatoes were really good. So it was kind of a fun activity, and we ate to our heart's content. And then just a note from Public Works, as you know, our crews have been out quite a bit taking care of roads. It's been a challenging winter already. Andrew's a little tired already, but his staff's keeping up. We do expect a significant snow event coming up here in the next 2 to 3 days. So just well wishes for safety for everybody traveling and for crews that are out there. Sure. And then the county attorney reminded me that the facility will be closed for the official holiday on Monday following. And then the following Monday, we're also closed. So we have the 2 holidays following on Monday and then a Monday. So the government center will be closed. With that, just a couple of things. We do get to recognize officially our retiring commissioners. And so I'll be getting a chance here to hand these out. And I know that you may all want to say a few words as well. And then we'll have a chance to continue that celebration. But first, for one of our longest serving commissioners, we're still doing our history check to see if it's the longest serving commissioner, but Commissioner Felix Schmiesing has been with us in the county board since 2003. cannot tell you how much staff appreciates your leadership, your guidance, and also for many of us, your friendship. And so on behalf of the county and your service, we'd like to congratulate you for wonderful, wonderful years of service.
That's made out of wood. It's not a stone tablet because of your service, man.
Not familiar. What is wood?
You're going to get Unzi a professional, but you know.
You want me to come down or?
You want to come down, or? Yeah, why don't you? All right. Where do you want us?
Oh, that's a cute little water.
I'll stay out of the.
Stay out of there. Stay out of the screen. Okay, we'll do it.
Then there's, it stays below the line of sight like that, this one.
1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Next, we get to recognize Commissioner Dolan. Better, I think, known to most of us is just Tim.
There you go.
I would say that the memory that staff has of Tim is somebody who came in with an eye towards innovation and towards modernization and has kept us on our toes as we move forward, but also somebody who, without prior government experience, learned incredibly quickly and became a tireless advocate for the county and the services we provide, and especially for the staff. And for that in particular, Tim, you're going to be greatly missed. But thank you so much for your leadership and for your service on the board. All right.
One, two.
And then last but not least, somebody who gets not one, but two pieces of wood today. So Commissioner Brandt is also serving as our chair this year. And Barb has been an incredible person to work with this last year. Really kind of that quiet strength, doesn't say a lot, but when you speak, it means a lot. And also somebody that when you give a phone call to or you meet them in person, no matter what the issue is or how difficult it is to deal with, there's always that sage guidance and patience and wisdom and positive attitude, especially in the areas of public health as we've ended the COVID pandemic, but also interestingly in some of our economic development activities that sometimes get overlooked. Your leadership has been really, really tremendous. So thank you first and foremost for your service on the board, but also for being a great chair this last year.
Well, thank you.
One, two, more.
Yeah, should we do all three, Dan? Can we get one with all three? Yep. Kim, can you swing down?
Yes.
Gillis?
Oh, yeah, so, yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be good, really nice.
Get some good photos. You want to put these on the board for you?
Beauty. I get it. I've heard that a lot in my life.
All right. 1, 2, 3. One more.
And that concludes my remarks. So happy holidays to everybody and safe travels for everyone.
Thank you. Okay, now we can move on to our open forum. Do we have anyone signed up?
We have nobody signed up for open forum, Madam
Oh, my
Chair.
goodness. Okay.
I'll be signed up next week.
We can hardly wait. We're changing things.
Well, I'll be watching in to make sure, see what that's all about, okay? As you raise my curiosity. Okay, well, then we'll go on to our open regional rail authority meeting. And
Madam Chair,
our first step is to approval of regional rail authority proposed agenda. So how,
I'll move the agenda as presented.
okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to approve the regional rail authority proposed agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed. Then we can move on to review of and approval of the Regional Rail Authority meeting minutes from December 8th of 2022.
Madam Chair, I'll move the approval of the meeting minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the meeting minutes from December 2nd, 2022. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, motion's passed. So then we go on to item number 3, which is to consider certification of 2023 Regional Rail Authority level. And we have,
Chair, I'll move approval of the zero levy. My last chance at one.
Hang your hat on that one.
so do we have that on our records that we did all of them?
We had bets whether or not it would, and it was heavily handicapped, so.
Okay, so a motion has been made, just gonna have to turn my page, to approve resolution numbered 122022 RRA 55, certifying the 2023 property tax levy for the Regional Rail Authority at $0. So is there a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed. So then we can go on to item number 3.4, which is to consider approval of the 2023 master funding and annual operating grant agreement of the North Star Link commuter bus. And we have Andrew Witter with us here for that. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, County Board members. So I'm before you this morning to give you a little bit of background and have your consideration for the 2023 North Star Link Master Agreement for 2023 services. You know, as we continue to kind of come out of a unique era here, you can see some changes included in the budget for the Link services. This is specifically for the commuter bus service that makes the connections between St. Cloud and the city of Big Lake so that people can more easily utilize the North Star services. What you can't see necessarily in their budget numbers is there was a reduction in the MnDOT operating grant. So you see our portion go up a little bit on paper. They still have intentions and aren't able to account for it within their budgets to utilize some of the relief funds. So as we've been dealing with this over the last couple of years, I can tell you that the payments that we've been making have been greatly reduced, if not non-existent. So we're anticipating to see the higher level of service in kind of correspondence with what we have heard from North Star commuter train and the doubling of service, getting back to what I would call a little bit of a more normal schedule, and the corresponding service from the Link as well to facilitate those rides. Any questions?
Okay, motion's been made. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the annual operating grant agreement with St. Cloud Metro Transit for the 2023 North Star Link commuter bus service. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair, if I can just make a comment on this, as you know, as we're reviewing the future of North Star and what's going to happen with North Star, and the numbers that they've generated certainly can come into play when they're starting to try to make decisions about continuing North Star, about extending it, and all those things. I think this has probably been pretty valuable in terms of having those numbers to use, and I'm sure Met Council is considering them. So.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we will adjourn the Regional Rail Authority and open our regular agenda. And we'll start with item number 6.1, which is to conduct an annual review of and approve recommended changes to the financial policy manual. And Diane Arnold is here with us.
Good morning, Commissioners. Madam Chairman.
Good morning.
Yes, before you is our yearly approval of any changes or updates and stuff to wording in our financial policy for this coming year. So we want to make sure we've got this done before the end of this year. Did you have an opportunity to, I'd highlighted the pieces on the front of the RBA. If you want, I can go through and read them all to you if you would like, or if you have questions, I can entertain that as well. It's pretty well spelled out. We just updated some of the language on there. Like in the grant policy, we merged that into the grant approval process and procurement policy starting on page 52. That was our biggest change. So that's the one that you'd want to kind of look at the most. We updated the budget period in long-term financial planning. We updated the dates from June to July to correctly reflect the correct date, and also from September 15th for certifying the levy to the 30th. We also added in there on pages 21 and 22 in the last paragraph to add or the county board, depending on the value of changes. Do you want me to go through each one of those, or?
Oh, please don't.
No.
Well, we did go through and review everything, and we wanted to make sure that we got everything updated. One thing I do want to note, on our inventory best practices, we wanted to update the amount of inventory to be current with, consistent with our current practice value, was changing it from $1,000 to the $5,000 inventory. And then we updated just a few other things in there to make sure we had the correct language and information provided to our users so that it would be very consistent for them. So this is something that we have you approve each year, as I mentioned. The investment policy has no changes in it for the coming year, so there's no changes for that. And this review was conducted by administration, the auditor treasurer, county attorney, health and human services, and sheriff accounting staff.
Okay, Madam Chair, and some of this is just squaring with what state policy or statute
Correct.
is.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
and I see some small increases for some of the bidding process and that sort of thing, so.
Right, just so we can align with everything else that is in the current practice.
Yeah, I would agree. Everything was laid out pretty well in the packet. I wouldn't have any additional questions beyond that.
With that, Madam Chair, I'll move to.
Okay, a motion has been made to approve the recommended changes for our financial policy manual.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded, and we have Bruce one.
Just want to note for the board and for the public, and Diane, if you want to jump in, we did codify in the new policy the use of the risk committee, which I think has been exceptionally helpful. The idea is that there are times that it's not a legal issue or a strictly financial issue, but there may be a business risk. And so we've been able to put together the attorney, the auditor, treasurer, the administrator, the risk manager, and then the department head who's requesting a waiver from policy or just clarification. And so it's a good functional committee that helps us really round out the work, and you'll see that in the language as well.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
Okay, thank you.
Very
So
good.
once we get all the red line stuff off from there, we will update our website with the current revised policy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
Okay, now we can move on to item number 6.2, which is to consider approval of a joint powers agreement with Wright County for planning and environmental linkage study of thoroughfare 25. Andrew, back with us again.
Morning again. Again, for your consideration, the joint powers agreement between Sherburne County and Wright County. This is in response to kind of a new direction, if you will, with the CMRP. Currently, we're set up as a joint powers agreement with all of the entities with CMRP. There's some interest in potentially moving into more of a nonprofit organization with that group to help with some of the lobbying efforts and gives us some other opportunities. In doing so, we want to continue moving forward with the environmental documentation and the studies that have been completed and will need to be completed in the future for that connectivity between I-94 and Trunk Highway 10. As I think most of the board is aware, we've completed a preliminary traffic study a couple years ago, moved into more of a land use style study to kind of take a look at what the effects are in the area and how this connectivity can potentially help improve the commerce and the business aspects in and around both Sherburne County and Wright County in the area. Next step in the process is really to start digging into some of the details in regards to the transportation system and the connectivity with the transportation system, and that's where this Pell document comes into place. It's kind of a preliminary environmental study, but doing this then allows us to, in the next couple of years, roll right into more of an environmental document, a formal environmental document, whether that be an environmental assessment or an EIS, an environmental impact statement, which will be determined later on. This joint powers agreement puts Wright County and Sherburne County in the lead of this Pell study. We would be the owners of that study in cooperation with our other partners at the townships on both sides of the river, and continue coordinating with CMRP as an advisory group to that study. The study has a number of stop points in it where we have an opportunity to really review and get concurrence from all of the project partners before moving forward. So we don't necessarily get to the end of the process and not have concurrence. So there's some intrinsic points within the process that allow us to get formal concurrence from the governing bodies and governing boards. The other thing that this spells out is some of the financial commitments, not necessarily in detail, but CMRP has got some reserve funds that they've built up over the years based on participation and dues from the different entities. They've made it very clear that their plan is to utilize the bulk of those funds to help fund this study. That does not fund the entire study. It gets us much of the way through. If we're looking at rough dollar values, CMRP's got about $450,000 that they can contribute to the study until we go out and solicit proposals. We're not exactly sure what our costs are going to be. I can give you a range of probably about and somewhere between $700,000 and $1 million for this study. That will take place over the course of likely 2 years or more. So it will be then at that point, we'll continue to solicit additional funds from other resources. Dan Weber's been very helpful, and we've recently obtained a small grant from the Initiative Foundation for this project as well. So coupling that together to provide those funds. So this joint powers agreement outlines the partnership between Wright County and Sherburne County in regards to the Pell study. Ooh. Questions?
Just to clarify too, we've been working closely with MnDOT and the Federal Highway Association as well. And they've been at the table consistently which tells us that everybody knows that something has to get worked out and done. So we appreciate their involvement in the guidance and stuff. And like Andrew said, there are stop areas to reflect on what we've gathered so far in information and such. So this is just part of the process that's required in order to move forward. Without it, you're going to go nowhere.
Yeah, and I can add to that a little bit. Well, CMRP's been a good group in kind of pushing things along. I think it's a valuable point right now where that group's at, and kind of some, we'll call them impasses, but they're not really impasses. It's just conflicts of who's pushing, who's driving, where a partnership like this on transportation is definitely going to be the wise delineation of what that group does. So I think it's an important piece, and it'll be valuable in the future, and things will get done more efficiently by Andrew and Wright County's group there to push things along the way to progress.
So, Madam Chair, does this, first of all, I think the idea that Sherburne and Wright lead this discussion is absolutely appropriate. Does this broaden the bookends of the study? I mean, Highway 10 runs all the way through 94, that corridor. Are we going to talk about it in a broader sense? I know the previous group, I mean, they were already saying, hey, the bridge could go here. Well, you know, maybe a little ahead of themselves with that. And I guess that's my question. Are we going to broaden it out a little bit, and you're going to step back and look at it more holistically? Is that appropriate?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioner Smeezing, good point to bring up. I mean, this is a very prescribed federal process. The Pell document is a federal process. So we need to allow and let that process guide what we end up looking at. From my perspective, I would say, yeah, probably will broaden out a little bit further than the original transportation study was a little more focused. But again, the process will drive that, and the public input and the community input and the respective county board and agency input.
Well, I think that background work is really important, that is done and thoroughly done. I think you'll find everybody wants a bridge till they get a bridge. And so if you don't have those basics covered, you're going to really struggle. So I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would agree with Andrew. I think as you venture down that, you're going to see some broadening from the focus of CMRP. As Pell will broaden that a little bit for sure.
So just to clarify, Chair, so will CMRP still exist?
We're at the moment where they'll probably exist, but in a different role. There'll be more of a nonprofit role, kind of similar to what the 94 Coalition does, where you can start to then gather funds, you can reach out to people. So that's probably where they're going to move into that role.
Okay, got it.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Just maybe to add another point of clarification there. CMRP right now, like I mentioned, is a joint powers agreement with the townships, cities, and counties within the area. By moving to more of a nonprofit organization and a coalition similar to I-94, you're able to bring in community members, you're able to bring in business members, things like that, which right now we're not able to do with the way it's set up.
Well, and Madam Chair, that in itself will broaden the basis of this whole thing. I mean, it will you kind of have some cheerleaders, right?
Yes.
That are going to help to try to deliver something.
Correct.
Whatever the planners come up with. So that's a good thing.
Cheerleaders and hopefully some financial backers and supporters.
Well, Madam Chair, I'll move approval of the joint powers agreement with Wright County for the planning and linkage study.
I'll second.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the joint powers agreement with Wright County for planning and environmental linkage study of TH 25. So any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
Thank you. Madam Chair, maybe one final note, which I neglected to mention. Wright County is also considering the agreement today at their county board meeting, so we would anticipate that passing over there as well.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, now we can move on to item 6.3, consider adoption of the 2023 annual budget and associated annual levies with Bruce.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. So, large item, actually, there's 3 separate resolutions, and so if and when the board is ready to approve these, we would ask that they be done individually. The first resolution is to adopt the county budget. The second resolution is to certify the 2023 property tax levy. And the third resolution is to certify the 2023 Regional Rail Authority levy. Since September, when the board adopted its preliminary budget and levy, we worked to reduce the levy by about $275,000. So we are bringing forward to you a proposed budget of $122,897,214, a levy of which is $58,452,566. That is a 6.49% increase over the 2022 levy. We've had extensive discussions about why it is at that level, and obviously are cognizant of the need to look at constrained budgets going forward. And we appreciate the board's leadership, both in getting all of our contracts settled for 3 years, but also knowing that there was a cost to that. And I think, and I'm still hopeful that in a year, we're going to look back and say that was a really important decision we made to have a total rewards program that is funded and be an employer of destination for servicing our community. With that being said, we are recommending approval of that budget and that levy, as well as, again, approval of the Regional Rail Authority levy. And Dan and I will stand to answer any questions you have in lieu of going through the budget again, unless you would prefer that on a line-by-line basis.
Okay, thank you. So will we do this in one?
3 motions?
3 motions,
Right.
okay.
The first motion would be to approve Resolution 12/2022 AD 3049, which is adopting the 2023 county budget.
Okay,
Madam Chair, I'll move approval of that motion.
okay, so the first motion is to adopt the 2023 county budget, certifying the property levy, is that what you?
We'll do the levy second, so
We'll
this
do
is just
levy
approval of the
second,
budget.
okay. This is the budget, okay.
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded, is there any discussion?
Chair, I just want to say, it's been a tough budget, really tough. And I really want to give a shout out to our staff. It's tough. I heard Dan Weber mention numerous times, probably the toughest budget he's worked on, maybe, to get to this point. And these aren't easy. And we, as commissioners, are definitely always thinking about our constituents and our taxpayers. And second, our staff. And a lot of this is about our staff. And we did settle contracts, which is we're going to benefit hopefully in the future going forward. Our staff have security with that. We have security with the budget. So always our taxpayers come first when we're considering these things. Not easy decisions, really tough to do, but our staff is just right under there.
Any other discussion?
And I agree with what Lisa said, Madam Chair. Just also want to point out that a lot of our services get mandated down from the state, and we do the best we can with very little support that comes down. So we are a service-orientated organization, and at that, it does come with a cost to provide those services. So I agree this was a very tough budget, but I do think that we're going to see some of the benefits going into the future in the next 2-year budget cycles. So I do want to also thank staff for all their hard work in getting us to where we are to still be able to maintain and deliver the services that are required.
Any other comments? I just want to also thank staff for their hard work, because this has been a long and difficult process, and I think that everybody has done their best to look at how we can do all the things that we need to do in a way that's as cost effective as we can manage. And I really know that that was a big job, lots of hard work. So thank you so much.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I could just add, Dan, next year's budget's gonna be really easy. You took all the pain before I left, so next year will be just a walk in the park, so.
Well, hello.
Look at this
My
guy.
goodness.
Oh, my goodness. Somebody's
Speaking of
lost.
pain, there you go.
Somebody's lost.
Like somebody
thought
wanted
we-
out of the sunshine.
I thought we had security at the front table.
Jeez.
And
And
for those of-
coming in just at budget time. Yeah.
Yes.
For those that are watching video online and can't see who walked in, it was
Yes.
our former administrator, Steve Taylor. So.
Is in the room.
Okay, well, we were just ready to take a vote on our budget, so. I think-
Perfect timing.
Perfect time, yeah. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, motion's passed for our budget, and now we need to consider the property tax levy.
So the resolution number for the record on this is 12-2022 AD 3050, and this would be approving the 2023 property tax levy. I would note for the board and for the public, just to clarify one more time, that the large park acquisition purchase is, first of all, on this budget year, not next year's, and also does not include any levy dollars. And then for the community of the board, just to note that we will be closing on the park property on the 22nd of December. So with that, the motion will be to approve that resolution for certifying the 2023 property tax levy.
Would anyone like to? Make-
Madam Chair, I'll move approval of the certification of the 2023 levy.
Okay, motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the 2023 property tax levy. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
And then the final resolution is resolution number 12-2022 AD 3051, certifying the 2023 regional rail levy.
Would anyone like to make a motion? about the-
I'll move it.
Okay, motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the 2023 regional rail levy?
How much was that again?
I think it was
Zero.
nothing. Any further discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed. Thank you so much. Dan is coming up. So number 6.4, receive American Rescue Act, Plan Act update and consider approval of recommended expenditures.
Good morning, Commissioners. This week we have just one under the 50,000 threshold, and then we do have 4 projects that we'll get into a little deeper because they're over that $50,000 amount. The first is $8,750.04 for staff costs that we're dealing with the pandemic. So looking for approval on that project.
I'll move approval.
Motion's been made to approve the request. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
The second project for discussion is the HR position reimbursement. This is the quarterly payment. I think this is the 4th of the 2022 year. was paid out of the enterprise and we're switching it to ARPA. So looking for approval of that position reimbursement.
Okay,
I'll make that motion, Madam Chair.
a motion's been made to approve the HR position reimbursement for the sheriff's office of 68,000. Is that correct? 926.28. Is there a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion passed. Okay.
Next up is jail overtime costs, and I'm going to turn it over to Chief Deputy Duran to discuss those.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. We are seeking reimbursement for 2 full months, the months of October and November, for correction staff overtime, which totaled 2,832 hours at a cost of $106,362.19, as we continue working toward full employment in that facility.
Madam Chair, I move approval.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the jail overtime costs request. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
Thank you.
Now we can move on to the next.
Next is the HHS drop-in clinic. I see the RBA says drip-in clinic. It's supposed to be drop-in childcare setting, so I'll turn it over to Amanda for that one.
There is a difference.
Good
Good morning. As part of our integrated services work, HHS sponsored the on-site childcare that's being staffed by the YMCA, and that's on the second floor. When we operationalized the childcare, as you remember, we had a funding source, a state funding source, but we quickly realized that using that funding source only allowed certain clients to use the childcare, and so that quickly left out many people who would like to use it depending on how we paid for the service. We used ARPA to expand the hours of the childcare in a 1-year pilot. It has proven to be very successful, and so right now the childcare can be used for anything, so folks obtaining their driver's license, health and human services appointments, or if they are at the government center for a court appointment. In 1 year, the on-site childcare has served 212 people. So we are asking that this service continues with unrestricted availability using ARPA dollars, and so it would be a cost of $65,000 for the additional for 2 years, with the other half of the expenses being paid from the funding source that we have in place with HHS.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, I'll move approval of the drop in childcare staffing.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chair, I just have a quick question. Amanda, now, okay, so one person drops a child off there. Do they have a room where they have people doing the same thing, or?
So
Is it the one in the
it's the
center?
one on the second floor, yep, and so we have a sign-in log, and we ask in that log what brings them to. So if it's, if it's a service that qualifies for the other funding source, that's how we use it, and it's usually folks that are applying for public assistance, then we can draw down the other funding source and not the ARPA dollars.
The overall numbers would be interesting to see at some point for these others.
Madam Chair, that was just going to be my question. Are we developing something where we're going to do an analysis then in 2 years to see what the benefits of the program are, and hopefully as it would continue to grow greater than the 200 at the moment?
Yep, so we are, obviously there's a sign-in sheet, that's how we know that we've served 212 children. In terms of what brought them into the government center, and then also hours of operation. So then if we ever need to make decisions on limiting hours of operation, we know kind of what the hot spots are. Right now the drop-in childcare is open 5 days a week at a total of 33 hours a week.
And what is the average time from what time to what time on any given day?
I believe it's Monday through Thursday, 9 to 3:30, and then on Fridays, it's a half day, so 9 to noon, 9 to noon 30, roughly.
Okay, and this is just for the public that is coming to the government center, not for our employees?
Correct, it's up to 2.5 hours, and it's only for when people are used on site at the childcare, so it's not a drop and go for other places in the community, and they've got little buzzers that keep them on site.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep.
And next up is a file management system in the attorney's office, and I'll turn it over to Attorney Haney for that one.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, presently we're at the end of our term with our current contract or our management system that we have called MCAPS. We took the opportunity to put together a team to evaluate the 3 different software products that are presently available in the market. We did that in conjunction with our IT. We determined that the Carpel Solutions was the most logical and most intuitive program for use. We had some concerns about continuing on with the existing program that we had. And so we would ask for the sum of $164,625. This would be the startup for the software program. In terms of ongoing operations, I should just note for you, we do not yet know the storage costs because we haven't been able to calculate that. But that will be an additional cost to this as well as the ongoing maintenance. So this is just the startup cost. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. Ms. Pym from my office has also been involved both with our current software program and was part of the team looking at the new software program.
Okay, is there anyone like to make a motion and we can have discussion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the funding of the software.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Okay, is there any discussion?
No.
Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, now we'll move on to our broadband update.
Yeah, as I mentioned last meeting, the state was going to award the border-to-border grants, and we were fortunate to hear that RVIG received 2 grants. And if you recall, back in July, the board did approve a commitment letter to participate in those opportunities at about a 30% commitment level. So today I'm looking for approval of those 2, formal approval of those 2 grants. The first project is in Clear Lake and Haven Township, which would serve 211 underserved and unserved individuals. The total grant request is $644,162, and it did score an 85, so it was one of our higher scoring projects. The second project is in Elk River and would potentially serve 42 unserved and underserved locations, and the total grant request is $162,795, and that one scored an 80. Both townships and cities we have sent letters to both townships and the city to request partnership in the grant opportunities, and Haven has already approved that last night. We're expecting Clear Lake to review it as well, and then Elk River will have it at an upcoming meeting as well. So we are anticipating that all 3 will participate. So staff is looking for formal approval of $806,957. That would be the max. And as I said, we are expecting participation that would drop it down to about $756,000. We also received 4 additional round 2 applications from Midco and Frontier, and those will be brought back to the board at a later date for review.
Okay.
I will move approval.
Motion's been made to approve the request. Is there a
I'll second. Yep.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Dan, just a point of clarification, when you, and I think I'm right on this, but when you say the number of people served with that, that's parcels, correct? It's not,
Passings, homes, yes, correct.
right.
So if I misspoke, I apologize, but yeah, it was.
No,
homes.
that's, I got it. I just want the board and the general public to understand that while it only serves this many people right now, as further development and subdivision of lots comes into play, it's potentially a lot higher in the
Correct.
future. So it's a play for the future versus just right now.
And the majority are in unserved areas, so they have very poor service right now.
Yep.
Building our puzzle, our puzzle pieces in place.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Very, very exciting to see that.
We're making progress for sure.
Yes. Okay, now we have Commissioners' report.
Madam Chair, I can
Okay,
clear the, and just say I don't have anything to add, so you don't need to worry about me there. Move on to
okay.
next.
Anyone else?
Madam Chair, I can go next.
Yes, okay.
I was able to attend, was dealing with COVID for the last 2 weeks, so the meetings I was able to attend by Zoom, one in person, December 8th. I met with the city and of Big Lake and Big Lake Township and the Big Lake Fire Department, discussing some of the parts of the project for County Road 43. Also was able to attend the Sherburne County AIS meeting via Zoom. December 12th, the Park System Plan update meeting. December 15th, the County EDA meeting. And December 19th, the Mississippi One Watershed, One Plan meeting.
Madam,
Thank you. Yep. Who's next?
Madam Chair, I attended a MICA meeting, and I attended the EDA meeting here in the Government Center. Anything else?
I'll remind you. And then I'll invoice you. Need to start getting payment. I was at the Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services Legislative Breakfast. We serve 11 counties, as you know. We had 3 legislators there. It was incredibly disappointing. Probably the worst show we've ever had. So I'm just an awareness. Don't know what that was about. I also had a Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services Joint Powers Board meeting. Attended MICA. Felix was there.
Confirmed.
Yes, Zoom. It was a Zoom, though. So, Rum River One Watershed One Plan Technical Committee meeting. And then I've been busy with Baldwin Township and Livonia Township. Have met with both of their boards. You know, it's great where we're at with our 169.4 overpass situation. We're farther ahead, I think, than we've ever been, and we're close to making that happen, so that's really good news. With that comes challenges from people that this is going to affect. So residents, business owners, so many meetings in people's homes with businesses, just listening to hear how it's going to affect them or possible changes they would like us to consider. So they're great meetings, one-on-one with people, but they're also very challenging. So, and I did want to ask about with having that experience with Central Minnesota Jobs and Training, Bruce, I wanted to know, do we have a date yet for our legislative breakfast?
We're doing a doodle poll right now with the legislators, so typically we look at a Friday morning because they don't have that's, you know, a typical legislative day. So hopefully, probably the first or second week in January.
Okay. And just want to recognize this being our last meeting with my colleagues Tim, Barb, and Bruce.
Bruce. I think I'm moving up.
Woo! Felix, I am grateful for our time that we've spent together at this dais. Grateful for everything that each of you brought. It's going to be really different going into next year, and I believe that we served well together, and I'm grateful for that. So, thank you.
Thank you. And I forgot my calendar, so it's at home, so I'll have to call it into later today, so. So we can move on then to adjourn our regular meeting and then open our ditch authority agenda meeting with our agenda. So first of all, we'll ask for approval of our ditch authority meeting agenda.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval.
Motion's been made. Is it a second?
I'll second.
So the meeting agenda is approved, and now we can move on to receive and accept our ditch drainage technician report. And we have Mike with us.
And he's just moving to the back. Wants to see the pictures better.
Look at this.
I'm glad we could do one more ditch authority meeting before I left, because I enjoy these so much, so.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Morning.
There, any questions regarding my written report?
I don't see any, so.
Okay, I'll get started here.
Broken clicker.
I'm just hoping there's some pictures of the 6,000 gallons of water.
Oh, no, sorry.
No.
County Ditch 1, excuse me, we finished cleaning operations last Friday, just in time before more snow and the big freeze, so that worked out really well. It took about 2 weeks. This portion of the ditch is, it's very wide. I mean, 15 to 20 feet in spots, so it was a pretty big undertaking, to say the least. Took about twice as long as we anticipated, but it's just the way it is. It was so wide. I didn't realize how wide that ditch gets in spots. So that means there's 2 to 3 times more dirt to deal with than on a normal ditch cleaning. Yep. This is out on ditch 1. I thought there was kind of a neat picture of the steam coming off the dirt. It's pretty cold that day. What he's doing there is digging a hole to get rid of a bunch of brush. We like to leave the area clean when we're done. The landowners appreciate it, that we don't leave them a big mess to deal with. County Ditch 19, this is where we removed a dam, about a mile north of County Road 4. Where the location is the red writing there. Here's the dam. It's holding back about 2 feet of water. The land renter that farms the adjacent property called and let me know that it was here. Here's another angle of it from a different angle. You can see the water, all the water backed up on the left side. This is blasting services out of Zimmerman. I use these guys when it's out in a rural area where it's not going to affect a home or a road or any other buildings or property. He's out there right there with that plunger, plunging a hole into the dam. And then in the hole, he has charges that he puts in there. We used 12 charges on this dam. The guy in the back is holding the det cord. The det cord goes out and they tie each charge onto the det cord. This is after it was removed. As you can see, it does a pretty clean job. It doesn't leave a mess. Keisha, could you load that video? The pilot apologized for the quality of the video. I'm not sure what happened here, but
I think you get the point.
There was a big boom.
you can play it again if you want.
Got a little dirt on your lens from
So this is the dam we were just looking at?
Yep, that's the dam.
Oh,
Needed about a 10-second longer fuse. Missed it by about 10 seconds to get it right before the beginning, and,
Yeah.
but kind of get the idea.
There's no shot of anybody running.
right.
And then there's the after. That's all I have for now. Is there any other questions?
Thanks, Mike.
I will have a follow-up with ditch one. I got some more pictures coming for our next meeting.
Okay, great.
So our
I'm just
next-
curious,
Yeah,
You
go
can,
ahead.
you can come.
I'm just curious what the beavers think when they come back and their house is gone.
Well, the beavers are dead.
Oh, I shouldn't have asked that question.
Madam Chair, I can move approval of the acceptance of the report.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed. And so now, moving on to item number 8.3, setting our next agenda, authority meeting rather, on February 21st. Do we need to vote on that, or? Yeah. Do we vote on the date, or just identify it? It's been set, okay. So, with that then, I think we can close our ditch authority meeting.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And to all the outgoing commissioners, best of luck on your future endeavors, and it's been a pleasure working with all of you.
We've enjoyed.
Great
working with
work,
you,
Mike.
too.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Felix might join you with some of those.
Well, they say that beaver tastes like rain.
Those explosives.
So, we've already, so our meeting is adjourned. Our regular meeting and the ditch authority is adjourned, so we're done.
And it is customary, if the chair wants to say any parting words for the year, you're sure welcome to.
Well, I just want you to know that I really enjoyed my 6 years with, as a county commissioner, and I just think this has been a really special group to work with, and I want to let you know how much I've appreciated your skill and your knowledge and your will to work for our county in so many wonderful ways to achieve real benefits, I think, for our people. So thank you. Anybody else want to make any comments?
See you all at noon.